G'day. Welcome back to another episode of Shift Notes. Today we have a very exciting guest for you. Before we get started, first of all, we just want to say a big thank you to all the listeners. If you're really enjoying what we're doing, please leave us a comment, leave us a like, share with your friends. Every little bit helps us and keeps us motivated to kind of bring you more exciting people and kind of spread the word and bringing up our industry. Today, I'm actually have moved around a bit. So I'm actually filming from Australia. We've got Laurie and Mikey back in Auckland. And then our special guest today is Sam Dinsdale, and she's based down in Wellington. I was quite lucky actually when we started up Yaki Soda early on. I met Samantha, and Sam's easier, cool. So, yeah, she came into the bar with a. I felt like I was going to get told off, and she came in being like, "So, I've seen a hashtag. It's mixed drinks and mischief. Who here is using mixed drinks and mischief?" Turns out that Sam is actually a really good friend of Happiness Forgets, a place that I used to work at back in London. And so since that point, we became really good friends and got to know each other really well. And it's kind of where it brought us here to today. The stories that she's told me that we've shared and just her career in general has been absolutely inspiring and fascinating, and thought it'd be a great chance to get her to speak her word.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Welcome, Sam.
Yeah, welcome to the fam. It's like Jian's introducing us to you to the family.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, no, it's super exciting. So without further ado, we'll kind of get started on that. As we kind of gone with most of our interviews, we want to just get to know you. We want to know who you are. You've worked as a chef for 13 years in some pretty noble places. Could you give us a bit of background on where you're from, where you've worked, and how did your journey working in kitchens begin, really?
Yeah, okay. So I wanted to be a chef from the age of 16. I was like, right, I'm going to do it. Let's go. Absolutely. And then I decided that I just want to work really, really hard. So I trained here in Wellington at Petone, Welltech, and I got discovered by Gordon Ramsay. And he headhunted me and was like, right, when you come in to work with me in London? And I was like, never, obviously, that's ridiculous. And then a year and a half later, I decided, well, I can't pass up this opportunity. So I moved at the age of 19. I thought, I'm an adult now, look at me, big 19-year-old. Moving from Wellington to London was huge. I had no idea what I was in for, which I kind of was happy with. It was a nice sort of naivety that I'm glad I did young. I don't think I'd do it now. So then I went straight into Savoy Grill. So that was with Marcus Waring and Gordon Ramsay. And then what did I do then? So I was there for 18 months. Then I got taken to the Berkeley, which was a 2 Michelin star restaurant. And then, oh God, what did I do then? Oh, I helped Marcus open his second restaurant at the Gilbert Scott. And then me and my 2 best friends decided we had enough of all that basically painful bullshit of those big machine kitchens and like the big boys, and we wanted to create a more humane environment. So in 2013 we opened up the 5 Fields in Chelsea, and we achieved all our goals, and it's still around now. I left in 2017 to achieve like personal goals and actually become a better human, and get to know myself better and all that sort of stuff. So that's a very brief potted synopsis of my life.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it leaves everything pretty open now.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide that you wanted to take hospitality seriously as a career?
So obviously as a 16-year-old, I had no idea what I was doing. And then going into Welltech, I was like, right, I want to just get the most out of this. I want to win, basically. I'm very competitive, and I used to be even more competitive when I was younger. And so I think I just love restaurants in general. Like, I love people. I like producing stuff, and I've always loved cooking and baking. Like my mum taught me to cook and my nana taught me to bake, and I was just like, right, I want to be part of this. There's something magical and magnetic about this environment. And I want it. I want to be part of it. I want to win. I want to do my best. I want to see how far I can go. And my dad has a really incredible work ethic, and he achieved a lot when he was really young, at a very young age. So I was like, right, I want to be like my dad. I just want to work hard, and I want to be successful, and I want to win by the age of 25, essentially. And so, yeah, I don't know what age it was specifically, but it was sort of like I decided and I wanted to do it.
I guess it's one of those things about hospitality that it just gives you this sort of like competitive edge to just want to be able to be out there and showing what you can do and produce some pretty amazing things. Hey, that's really cool. That's really cool. I mean, you're back in New Zealand now. Like, what are you doing with yourself?
So after like all the goals, so I achieved 2 of my life goals at the age of 30. And I was like, I just wanted to learn who I was as a human. Like I knew who I was as a chef. I knew who I was, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm this person. I don't like this person anymore. I don't want to be this person. So I came home and I just put myself on hiatus. I went under the radar. I was like, no, fuck you to cooking. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was like a shell of a human by the end. And yeah, I've just put my personal development on the forefront. And now, after 4 years, I've decided that lo and behold, cooking makes me happy and people make me happy. So I'm trying to carve out a new life for myself. It wasn't acceptable to me to just do what everybody else does and like go do TV work or go write a cookbook or whatever. I wanted to carve out something different for myself because I don't want to adhere to just everything else. So that's what I've been working on recently, is just figuring out what I want out of cooking. So not working for cooking, but making cooking work for me, and just take it from there and bring it to people, and yeah, marry my 2 loves together, basically.
Nice. And how are you are you able to tell us how you're kind of like doing that?
Yeah. So last year in lockdown, I decided that the one thing that gave me comfort, because obviously lockdown was hard for everybody, and it was a very strange and different situation. And the one thing that gave me comfort was baking and cooking, and then teaching my flatmates how to do it. And I thought, if I can teach my flatmates how to do it, and they're not really into it, but they support me. And what would happen if I could teach people who are into it? And so that's where sort of Dins with Dins came from. And it was along the lines of like, I've done a lot of mentoring in my life, like a lot of mentoring. And I love taking someone who's maybe not so talented, but like passionate, and molding them and helping them and sort of pushing them along the way. It's like, yeah, come on, let's come with me. I'll show you how to do it. Let's go. And it can be anyone from like a kitchen hand to a sous chef, anyone who wants to learn. I'm here for it. I'll show you. So with Dins it's basically helping people feel better about themselves through cooking and baking, upskilling themselves, whether they're amateur or professional, and aligning their like life goals and like self motivation, but through cooking and sharing my skills and something along that line. I think that we've already got a lot of interest in it, and I'm really excited to like bring it to more people and just meet new people along the way, and share my skills. I don't want to hold on to them anymore. I'm being selfish. It's like have all my skills. Yeah.
That's so cool. How does someone sign up to a Dins with Dins?
So I have a website, and which everything will be launched next month in June. But I already have a Dins with Dins website that you can register your interest, and then basically I'll sit down with you and we'll talk about everything. We'll have a straight up honest conversation of how you're feeling in your life and where you want to go on like a day-to-day basis or like a big basis. It's got therapeutic qualities. I'm no therapist. I don't know anything, but I'm a good listener and I've lived a life. So as much as I don't have those qualifications, I can do the life stuff. So I just want to talk to people and see what they want to do, and we'll just take it from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's wicked.
So wicked.
You obviously, I mean, from what you've told us so far, you've done some pretty big things, like being headhunted by Gordon Ramsay. Like that's pretty amazing as well. Like, was there just for someone that would, want to be put in a position like that, what were you doing that was kind of like really stood out? Were you just kind of keen and eager? Or you just...
I don't know. Like I was not even, so Gordon Ramsay came to Welltech for his Gordon Ramsay scholarship. So it was a 2-day event. The first prize was come with me and work in my restaurants in London. And I was standing there because I was training for competition work as well. I was just there. I was just talking to people. I was like, this is a great opportunity to meet people and have a chat and like, let's talk to these people and what's going on there. And I'll just glean all this knowledge. I was a massive, massive nerd. I wanted to get just the most out of everything always at any opportunity that presented itself. Maybe still like that, maybe a little bit. But yeah, and Gordon sort of came up to me and he was like, you. And I was like, hello. And I brushed him off. I was like, you're not serious. Like the first prize of this competition is what you've just offered me. So like I've done nothing but stand here and chat to people. So I don't know what it was, but here we are.
Yeah, that's impressive. It says a lot about your personality, which is amazing. And I've been very lucky to hang out with you and get to know you.
Just out of curiosity, did the person who won first prize actually get the scholarship, and were you working with them or?
So they did win the scholarship. They got there. They were in a different restaurant to me because at the time in the mid, it was like 2005, 2006. They were in a different restaurant to me. So they were in, I think they were Royal Hospital Road, which was a 3 Michelin star. And I think it was only for like a month. I don't know how they handled it because that was a whole different beast. And yeah, that would have been fun. But good experience.
Yeah,
good experience.
Yeah, it seems like your whole career has been like quite a lot of full of experiences. Like, is there any sort of like highlights to date that really stand out for you?
Oh, there's a few. There's quite a few. So when I think one of the things there's a few things that I'm proud of, but one of them was when I was at Welltech, there was a French scholarship, and they basically offered someone to go and live and work in France for 3 months. And I said, oh, okay, well, I'll go for that. It's great. I can kind of speak French, but I didn't think I'd win it. So I was training other people who had applied to speak French because I was convinced that they were going to win it. But then I won it. And I went to France and I loved it. And I jokingly said, you should name the scholarship after me because wouldn't that be hilarious? So for about 5 or 6 years after that, I had the Sam Dinsdale scholarship at Welltech just as a joke. But it was great. I'm pretty proud of that one, even though that's like so long ago. But it was it was pretty cool. And that set me on the way to like definitely wanting to go back to Europe and going to basically explore that whole side of the world. I think it's important to just get out of your bubble and get out of the country that you grew up in and go and find as much as you can and bring it all out. It's good fun.
That's amazing.
It's so cool to see such a completely different culture but doing almost the same thing, right?
Exactly.
Like you could be producing, even if you are producing different cuisines, the culture is so different,
and it's not acceptable to me anyway, to just be like, okay, this is enough. Everything is this. It's like, no, you can never learn enough. The more you learn, the more you realize there's more to learn. So how can it ever stop? Like, it's insatiable, right? You've just got to like, okay, I'm going to find out what this is doing over there. Who's doing that? Who's doing what? I don't know. There are familiarities, obviously, because people are passionate and the passion is similar, but finding things when you're jaded and you're exhausted and you work hours and hours and hours, like we all have, and we know what jaded feels like, going to find something, going to a new culture or a new situation and seeing something that you've never seen before, it's inspiring, and that's what keeps it fresh, and like that's what keeps me going, because it's like, right, what is happening here? Like who's doing this? And I think that the moment you stop that's when you just settle and you're just not fun anymore.
Yeah, you can get quite easily get bored of recreating the same thing or get stuck in a mold of being like, oh, this is what we do, and this is, specifically cultures and formats in restaurants and bars, you end up producing similar things. But if you don't keep stimulating yourself and learning and reading about new things, and suddenly you end up just recreating the same thing over and over and over again. And it might get better, but
No.
No.
Gotta keep it fresh, gotta keep
Absolutely
it fresh.
not.
probably gets worse.
Yeah, it's boring.
For sure.
I just got one more question before I pass you on to Laurie. So it shows you got a lot of passion for this, for the industry. You got a lot of like drive. Have you only ever worked in the kitchen, or have you done anything with the front of house?
So I have dabbled in a few other angles of hospitality. I decided, so I met bartenders, and that's when it changed my life. And when I was at the Gilbert Scott, I worked really closely with the bar manager there, and I realized that this is so cool. This is like learning like how to, I don't know, it's like I fell in love with ingredients all over again, because I went into the bar and there was just this like 4 shelf, all the back bar was just incredible, and I was like, what is this? It's like a whole new language, but like with kind of one medium, liquid. And talking to them, I'd never met someone who wasn't a chef with an incredible palate. And I met this particular bar manager, and I was just like, this is something else. And they helped me, I helped them. So they were like, I want to do this. How do I bring this? How do I make this thought into a physical drink or whatever? And I was like, I know how to do all this. This is incredible. And so I spent the next like year and a half just like doing, it's like bartending, but it was kind of more like I did a lot of showcases and competitions, and I didn't do the hard graft of bartending, I'll admit that. But I just basically was like, right, this is incredible. I want to jump on this train and just have a wild time. And subsequently, I met an incredible amount of people and who are now all over the world. And we just had so much fun, and they were so generous with their knowledge and so willing to teach me. And I have dabbled in other parts of hospitality.
Right.
Oh my God, I love that. Is there anything you can't do?
Yeah.
I can't count very well. I'm not good at numbers.
So like
you can't
all of
free
us.
pour that well, right?
I can't free pour either.
Yeah, there's some pretty
Neither can
amazing
we.
videos of Sam competing in some competitions out there.
Oh yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's shame. I looked at it the other day. I sent it to Gianna, and I was like, look at this. Look at these people that I'm with. What am I doing? These people are legends now. This was like 2009, I think it was. And I was like looking at these people, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing?
But you did it, and it's
it.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good on you. I've got to say that I massively admire how you've gone from, New Zealand being discovered and then suddenly ending up in the UK, completely taking a plunge, working in some hectic kitchens, hectic hours, and also coming back to New Zealand to bring kind of rediscovering who you are and bringing what you love. And I think there's a real kind of, I don't know, it's a rare thing to find someone who can marry different elements of who they are and what they love and bring them to life. So really looking forward to checking out your Dins with Dins and seeing what that's all about. And my kind of next little section I want to talk to you is just a little bit about kind of life and challenges, because we try and introduce people in the hospitality industry to people we admire, and then just get a little bit of guidance around how they handle life challenges and have conversations about that. And you've already mentioned that you like have felt when you came here back to New Zealand that you felt like you were a little bit of a shell of a human. I just want to ask you a little bit about like what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced in your career.
Oh man, there's so many. But they were never something, I mean, I guess I put it down to like my competitive nature and the fact that I always wanted to win. I just wanted to be the best I could be. I was always, the challenges, I think, there was many of them. There was anything from like the fact that I'm so short, and I was always the youngest, and I was put in management within the first 3 months of me being in London. So I was a 19-year-old looking after like 8 people in a team of like 23 chefs. And I didn't know anything. I was a year and a half into cooking, and they're like, yep, you can do that. We believe in you. It's like, okay, well, that was great. I think the sheer exhaustion I would say one of the biggest challenges would be like perfectionism. So with this type of cookery I did with the fine dining, the Michelin star, like I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to do nothing but 1, 2s, and 3 stars. There was a point in time where one of my feet broke in half. It snapped. And I worked on it for the next 10 months. And I basically, to the point where it was like just horrible, and I got pulled out of the kitchen by like carried out of the kitchen because I could barely stand anymore. But the mentality of the kitchen is like no weakness. You're not allowed to be weak. So I saw that like injury as weakness. It's like, no, I'll just ignore it and I'll just keep going and I'll keep going and I'll keep going. And like it's not good enough to be weak, and it's not good enough to shouldn't you. They say one thing but they mean something else, and it was always really hard to really kind of be yourself. Like I could just never really be myself. Like this person I am now was still there, but it was kind of drowning under this just stress and wanting to be perfect, and you can't make mistakes and you can't speak your mind, and you don't want to come across as a crybaby, and you don't want to come across as a bitch, and so all of that was really hard, but we got there in the end. I think there were a couple of times I absolutely snapped and I fought back many times. I became pretty savage in the kitchen, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, under the training of Gordon Ramsay, you can only imagine the sort of things that I've done in my life. Oh no. But it's a means to an end, I think. I'm not proud of it, but it's good to put it out there and be like, well, you have to go through these things. You have to say, yeah, I did that. It was shit, but I learned from it. I don't do it anymore.
I think that understanding is pretty key, right? That's the fact that you understand that's how it's gone. You know, when I've seen bullying in the workplace previously, it's often like, oh well, but that's just how we do it. And if you're not taking anything away from it, then often that can be quite detrimental.
That's the thing. And there were so many people that just put it aside. Like, oh well, you have to behave that way. That's what's expected of you. Adapt or die. If you're not with us, you can fuck off, basically. But I always struggle with that because I'm a nice girl from Wellington. I don't behave like that. So, and I did always protect the underdog. Like I was always I was the sort of agony aunt and the barrier between. I always like to. There was one time I was literally 50 people's agony aunt, and I just kept it all. I was like the buffer zone between the upper echelons of the business and then everybody else, and it just absolutely broke me. But the only way that you can fight that is get out. You try and fight, but it's against the tidal wave. You can't do anything, unfortunately.
So you mentioned that you kind of got tired of this culture and you went on to create your own humane kitchen. What did you try and do to change this culture? Because obviously there are some places that have this culture, and like I personally feel like it's not necessarily the way we get the best out of people by doing that. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what did you do at this humane kitchen to kind of change that culture?
So the first thing that we did was to recognize what we were doing wrong. So me and my two best friends, we'd come from Maka Pia White, Gordon Ramsay, who else had we come from? Just that style. And we now know, I think it's just as valuable to learn what you don't want to be and what you don't want and what you don't want to surround yourself with as much as like, I like this and this is what I want and this is what I want to pull in. So luckily I did a lot of what I didn't want. So that was great. We had a starting point. And I spent 2.5 years pretty much just undoing all my bad habits and questioning everything. Why did I react like that? Why did I speak to that person like that? Why am I pretty much like going after this person? Like, what is it about them that's making me like, watch them and like hunt them down? Like, why are you doing this? And it's really hard because I just didn't want to be a product of my old bosses anymore. Basically, I wanted to like try and learn how to be a better person. And so all three of us did that, and we laid low as well. The other thing we did, we cut contact with media, and because the media was like all over us. So like these 3 27-year-olds are opening this restaurant in Chelsea. Like, who are these 3 27-year-olds? How can they afford to do this? Blah, 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 blah. So we cut all contact and we laid low, and we just looked after our neighbors, and that was it. And then so we slowly did the slow burn, and like got to know ourselves, got to know our own identity through food and drinks and service, and slowly built this strong foundation, which then we could go forward and be like, okay, we're here now, we're ready for you, let's go.
Wow. And did you have anything like minimum shift hours or any kind of practices that you had to encourage better or healthier workplace?
Yeah, we did. And this was so unheard of. And we got like, people were like, you guys are insane for doing this. But now even 4 or 5 years down the line, this seems so much more normal now. So we only worked Tuesday to Saturday, and it was dinner only. That was it. We had all the bank holidays off, so the public holidays. We had 2 weeks off in the summer, which was August. And then we had 3 weeks off over Christmas and New Year's, and that was it. We were like, no, we're doing holidays, and we're doing bank holidays, and we're going to just do, we're going to do 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. pretty much, but we're going to have an hour and a half in the afternoon. We're all going to eat together. We're all going to talk to each other. We're going to just like, and it starts small. It starts real small, but then Taylor, who was the boss, he was like, no, this is what I'm doing. That's it. No two ways about it. This is what we're doing. And then because we came across so much animosity, people were like, you can't do that. Like, you can't only open for dinner. Like, you're insane. And we were like, whatever. And then it became normal to people, and people were like, oh, they're doing it. Okay, excellent. And it didn't become a thing anymore. So we could, because we took that stance, we could then slowly add like different things on, and it was great. So it was hard, but also we just had to stand strong and be like, no, it's what we're doing. We're not listening to anybody else.
I love that. And I think it takes so much bravery to actually look at yourself and be like, I don't know, what am I doing wrong? You know, there's some hard conversations there, and you have to have some, you know, it's really cool. And I think that hopefully more and more people are asking themselves those questions like, hey, does it have to be the way it's always been? Or, you know, can we find better ways to react or talk to people? And
absolutely. And sorry.
Oh no, you go.
I was just going to say that it reminded me of two things. One, so I met this amazing person. I would say he's probably one of my own mentors. His name's Ryan Chettiwadana, and he owns an incredible empire in London and beyond. He's in the bar world, but he said to me once, I think when he was just finishing up at Worship Street Whistling Shop, he hadn't even opened White Lion yet. He was like, question everything. Why do we have ice wells? Why do we have citrus? Why do we do this? Who made these rules? Why do we have dessert? And I was like, what do you mean? Why do we have dessert? Like, okay, oh my God. And I remember us talking for hours over like, why? And then his business partner at the time, Ian, we just having these conversations, and I was like, that's incredible. And that's where I started to really, really start to question everything across the board, even my life. And the other thing, one of the practices I sort of instilled for myself, I used to live on my own. So I was living on my own for the majority of London. So I was quite isolated as well, and isolating, I think, as an isolating industry. And I just sat in silence for hours. I just go through everything in my brain to just over for hours and hours and hours in solitude to try and just like process it. And because nothing had got processed in those first few years. It was all just like, oh, go, don't stop. But now I had this time and I had to face it. And I mean, I guess that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years as well, is really facing all the ex-London stuff. So yeah, solitude is great.
Wow, that kind of leads me into a question about what are some of the things that you do to keep you grounded and centered, specifically when you have had those huge, hectic, challenging weeks? And
well, apart from spending a lot of time on my own, I really cherish solitude. I need it. I love people, don't get me wrong. Like I also need like people energy and like, oh yeah, like what are we up to? What are we doing? Woo! But also I need to like just run away and just, well, not run away, but just go and spend time by myself and just think through everything. And I get a lot of I don't know, I guess I just think a lot. I overthink. We all do it. But now it's not so yucky and toxic anymore. It's a bit more like, it's a lot softer and a bit slower. But I love going out to nature. Like I've got a friend up at Blue Duck Station who I just want to spend all my time up there as much as I can, just being in nature, being by the water, writing. I write all the time, pretty much every day, just stuff. But yeah, just learning how to be calm and learning that you don't have to achieve everything every day. That was probably the biggest undoing about the hardest thing to undo, and I still struggle with it now. It's like, no, I've got to do this, I'm going to do this, and it's like, shh.
I think everyone in that room can relate to that in this chat.
Yeah, 100%.
We've had some podcast episodes before that have shaken us a little bit, where we get questioned back and we're like, oh yeah, I don't know why I do that. That's a great.
We're interviewing you. Why are you interviewing us?
We're worse.
But yeah, can totally relate to that.
Over here.
And a bit of a question around mindfulness and cooking. So you've had these classes, that you're developing these classes because you want to get people in touch with mindfulness and, as a way to connect with themselves. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and what inspired this whole idea to bring cooking to people and bring an element of mindfulness into it?
So I just realized the therapeutic qualities of cooking, and I don't necessarily eat my own cooking or baking, but I love doing it for other people. Like I get a lot of joy in cooking and producing things for other people, but I guess that's what I've done my whole life, is make stuff for other people. And so taking that a bit further, and it's like, well, why don't I show people how to make these things? I have these I have all these skills. I'm a trained chocolatier, I'm a butcher, I'm a fishmonger, I'm a baker, chef, pastry chef, and it's like, well, why hold on to these anymore? And I know one of the things that lockdown showed, but I know that it was going that way anyway from the end of my days in London. People were wanting to learn how to be self-sufficient. Where's their food coming from? How can I make myself better? And so why would I want to hold on to these things anymore when I can show someone how to do this? Like, here, this is how you make puff pastry. It's easy. Just follow me. Come with me. Let's go. I don't know. I know what it feels like to sit around a table and to talk with people. Food, you bond. Look at us. We don't really know each other, but we're talking about food. It brings people together. And one of the things with Dins and series and the supper clubs, it's like it brings people together. You sit there and you talk and you can bond. And so let's take that lovely feeling and make it a bit more constructive and put it to something that's useful. And so someone can, they can feel better about themselves, and makes me feel better. I've just got to make other people feel better.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I hope that one day, if you're ever in Auckland, Mikey and I will take one for the team.
Yay.
We'll come.
100%. We'll be there.
Yeah,
lucky to be there for the launch. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
One of my things is definitely I want to take it across New Zealand, definitely, for sure. I've got friends all over the place, but I think that, I think it will work anywhere, regardless of Wellington or Auckland or Sydney or wherever.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, I've got one more question for you, and then I'm going to pass off to Mikey. But basically, what do you kind of enjoy most about working in kitchens?
Ooh, I like the people. Yeah, I like the people, and I love. I have to say, I do love the rush of service. It's you can't beat it. You can't beat it. It's like don't know, when you're in sync with everybody, when you're in a team and you're not really speaking, but you're like communicating via whatever else, because you know what that person's doing and you know what that person's doing, and you're just all in sync, and it's just some weird dance, but you're always making something, and you look at something on the plate and it's just like, oh my God, look at all this coming together in this kind of harmonious situation. I like that. I really like that. It's just like, oh my God, look at this. And you can't beat it. There's nothing else like it. I try and talk to non-hospo people about it and they think I'm insane. So it's like, all right, well, it's fair enough. But yeah, I think it's definitely the team and the buzz and we're all coming together.
No, definitely get that. Yeah.
Working.
Love the flow of service.
100%.
It's like the train running, right? Like the train starts with this like, and you're like, oh, we're coming through the weeds. What's going on? And then suddenly you're like all floating on the top, and everything's like, oh my God, what's going on? Everything seems to be working perfectly.
Yeah. And it's
like an episode of Chef's Table.
Yeah.
All right, you're on, Mikey.
Joyce. So I guess my little piece was just a little bit of a chat about culture. Both myself and G are lucky enough to have worked around the world, and Laurie's done plenty of traveling around the world and seeing a lot of the venues we've worked in. So it's pretty awesome. But obviously from a bar side, there's a lot that I've personally seen coming back to New Zealand, actually at a relatively similar time to you, that we could learn from. And all I wanted to do was kind of teach in that format. But is there anything that you could give back to anything that you see for the New Zealand hospitality, maybe specifically in the kitchen format, that we'd like to see?
I think that we're on a good trajectory with like bringing stuff back from overseas and different ethoses and living off the land, in the sense, instead of like manufacturing stuff that doesn't exist in nature, but actually like, right, what is the earth giving me? What is the sea giving me? Let's look after it and it will look after us. I think we need to keep going down that trajectory. And I don't think that, I know we're getting there. And I know, because when I first came home, I was like, what's it like back here? I don't know. But it was really nice to see that Kiwis are really open and ready to absorb all that good sort of knowledge, and not stuck in their ways. They're like looking for ways to make things better. And I want to support my local. I want to look after this guy who makes this jam down the road. I want to support this person who farms that. And I think we need to keep going in that way. I do think I am a firm believer in going away and coming back. Like, I'm quite staunch on that. And it's really nice to see that people are coming and going and giving their knowledge and contributing, and then helping to make us a more sort of vibrant and dynamic industry, for sure.
I think that reach out to local and that kind of understanding what we have in our backyard is such a massive piece, right? It's really cool to see the local produce that we have in New Zealand, and you know, for a very long time it was kind of untouched, and now it's like, oh, actually, holy shit, this is dope. Like, we can really play with this and we can make some cool stuff. Awesome. What do you think the rest of the world could learn from New Zealand, apart from Kawakawa and Horopito?
No, so I think we could learn. I think a lot of people, specifically in London, could chill out. Just like calm the fuck down, please, for everyone's sake. And because I was talking, I was definitely not a calm person for a long time, and it's just so much nicer to be like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna try this, and not have that, like, I don't know, just to take a bit of our mentality and a bit more, just tone everything down a bit, and then just center yourself, and then you can go forward again. I know I'm horrendously biased when I say that, but I think that everyone can benefit from it, for sure.
I think the idea is key, right? I feel like, and G, you're probably the same. I feel like everybody walks 100 miles an hour in London. Everybody's on a mission. And coming back to New Zealand was probably one of the hardest things we did, because people don't action stuff straight away. You send an email and it takes like a week and a half for somebody to get back to you, and you're like, oh, what's going on? But it's it's a pretty hectic environment, and I feel like you're probably right. It probably needs a little bit of Some people chill though. I don't know how some people just casually cruise through London, but I guess it might be the industry as well.
It's definitely like that. I mean, I know that every time I go out, but that's the thing. It's like I was hell bent on trying to make get into everything. You know, everything was a mission. Every day was a competition. And I don't know, I can't really speak on behalf of everybody, but that was just the vibe I felt. It was a very competitive environment, and obviously living there and sort of, it was something else. Like coming back, I struggled to come back here like that. Like I would walk so fast through Wellington. I'd go from like one side of Wellington to the other in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like half an hour early. Yeah, it's just like, why aren't people working fast enough? It was just hard for a good year.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess you build that whole like clock into your head that there might be a hold up on the tube, or there might be something like that, so you leave a little bit earlier and you pace it, and then if you're there early you can probably do something anyway.
Yeah, go for a drink.
Yeah, well, that's right. Another piece here, and probably something that is kind of dear to our hearts, but what are some of the biggest changes you'd like to see in the hospitality industry in general? That's in anything.
I would like to see more, I guess, more mindfulness, really. Just people being nicer to each other on just a good basic level. Just, really kind of more considerate of each other, of the environment, of just everything. Like customers being more considerate of staff realizing that customers are also, they're not having a great day sometimes as well, and we can be really mean behind the scenes. Just a bit more humanity and humility. Whether that will happen, I don't know, but we can always aim for it.
Do you have any personal tips to help you with that?
Not react so quickly sometimes.
Yeah. Read the situation.
I know what my
breaths.
temperament's like. And I can go from like, I'm totally fine to absolute rage in about 3 seconds. But it's getting more like, 4 or 5 seconds now along the line that that I'm not a chef anymore. Well, for the moment, on semi-retirement, definitely undoing the rage factor.
I feel like you'll always have like a chef's mentality towards things, all right? I mean, I don't necessarily work in the hospitality industry behind the bar much, but almost everything in my life somehow ties in with drinks. It's kind of nuts.
And like my tolerance for like I'm gonna say general incompetence is I don't have a very high tolerance, but I'm doing better.
We're all working on our people skills.
We're all working on our people skills.
Appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. But I think it's just it is. I will always have that streak in me for sure. I mean, I was 19 to 31 that I did these things, and I pushed myself hard, like achieving my two main life goals at 31. Like it's not a breeze, and I didn't think I would actually achieve them, so I was happy that I did. But I definitely think that I'll probably forever have that sort of like little fiery streak in me.
And I embrace it,
Yeah, roll with it.
I think the awareness is so key. Like if you understand what you've potentially have previously done, I really like your point before about the fact that like you can learn from mistakes. Like I've worked with people who I've been like, wow, that's what I really don't want to do, and I feel like those are some of the biggest lessons I've learned in the industry. Yes. And then vice versa, things like I was lucky enough to also work with Ryan. That whole question, everything was like revolutionary for my personal ideas behind drinks and everything. So like you're always going to be able to kind of churn through. So my last question, and it's something that we quite often ask people who are part of the industry, but what advice would you give anyone who wants to start a career in the kitchen?
I would ask them, and I've said this to so many people, and all the people I've trained, and I have people come in, they're like cordon bleu students, and they're like, I love to bake cookies during the afternoon. I'm like, yep, cool, excellent. Like, but I want to be a chef. So I ask them one question, and I look them in the eye and I say this, I'm like, do you love it? Do you actually love it? Because if you don't love it, that's not going to get you out of bed in the morning. The times that you are exhausted and you think, why the fuck am I doing this bullshit? And you know, of course you love it. That's why you do it. But when you're just so in the shit, then, and if you don't love it, there's no point. There's absolutely no point. Like the times that I was like, my feet were bleeding. There was 7 years I had 2.5 hours sleep a night. I didn't eat anything for probably years. And the one thing that would get me out of bed is because I just fucking loved it. And all I wanted to do was just run. I used to think of my prep day or my entire day as a mountain. And I used to wanted to run up it, not zigzag, but straight up to the top every day. And that's what I was doing. That's what I wanted. And if you don't love it and you're not into it that much, don't fucking bother.
That's massive. Like how, and I think this is something we've previously covered on Shift Notes, but like how many industries do people work in? I mean, and I could even look at my parents, for instance. Like how many industries do people work in that they necessarily actually love what they do? Like we're so lucky to be able to work in an industry where you almost have to love what you do to actually keep going in it.
Absolutely. And that's it. And I think that's why we do it. We're drawn to it for a reason. It's because we love it and we want to just keep like getting in there and seeing how far we can go. And I think, yeah, it's the main. I don't know anyone who lasts in hospitality who doesn't love it. And it's not just like, oh, I love it. It's like you gotta like, there's something about it. It's like magnetic and it's electric and it gets into your soul.
Yeah, loving the after work drinks
Love
just
that.
isn't enough.
It's not enough.
But it's that rush. It's honestly that rush that really gets you.
Yeah, you described it before.
And the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And creating things.
Yeah, and like I remember there was one. So when we were at the 2-star at Marcus's, we were one team for one entire year, and that's unheard of. You don't know. And we were one team for 1 year, and we would just speak in like absolute like telepathy. It was amazing, and there's nothing else like it. And we were just winning, and we were winning at everything, and like accolades and like best of the UK. We were on the top 50 best in the world, San Pellegrino world's 50 best. And it was just like, that was amazing at that time. And I think, and I really put it down, it just felt right because it was the right team pushing forward with the same goal. And you just can't replicate it. It's amazing.
So inspiring.
Yeah, massively.
That's awesome. I feel you. So great. Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much all we have for you today. Thank you so much. Laurie G, you got any other little questions for us?
No, I think you covered everything on my end. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Sam.
It's so interesting to talk to you. You have such a varied career, and I think just people hearing what you've done and where you've gone and starting in humble Petone, by the way, I spent a lot of time in the hut, so represent. But yeah, it's amazing to hear like what's possible when you ask questions, put your mind to it, and yes, super excited to check out your new venture and see what you're getting up to here in New Zealand. So thank you so much for taking time with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for such a great insight. Was phenomenal.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, no, that was
Happy to
huge.
share.
Awesome, team. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us for this awesome little inspiring chat. If you guys like what we're doing, please give us some feedback through Instagram, Facebook, the whole shebang, and give us a little like. And thank you so much for joining us today, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
That's us. We'll see you guys next episode.
Bye.